Oh man, I forgot to update the title of my stream. I think I can do that I think I can do that on YouTube. Let's see. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we're back today, and we're basically going to be doing the same stuff that we were doing yesterday. Actually, I should pin a message. I'm working on learning about how to. Oh, also, my mic is way too loud. There we go. That's better. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, we're back to learning about how to train and evaluate an LLM. If you are new here, you can type what bro doing or where bro at to learn more. You can get a full list of commands with command. There we go. And we'll pin that. Okay, the housekeeping is done. Hey, what's up, Suhas? How are you? Butterscotch, how are you? Was about to get in the bed, but here I am. What's up, man? Yeah, if you were getting ready to head to bed, you should head to bed. Sleep's important, you know? Hello, Arkin. How are you? Good to see you. Appreciate you guys stopping by, hitting the, kicking the stream off with a bang, you know? Hey, Elias. How are you? It's been a minute, Elias, actually, since I've seen you in my chat, so I hope you're doing well. I hope life is treating you uh, exceptionally well. How about that? This herd of goats. No, you guys are not goats. 2:30 in India. Wow. Yeah, you're up late, man. Hello, see for yourself. What's the check mark next to your name mean? That's cool. Why do you have a check mark next to your name? Does that just mean you're a sub? Milan. Hello, Milan. Hi, can you say my name? My name is Milan. Yes, I can say your name. Milan. Also, I've been still having the problem with my mouse. It's like all of a sudden the mouse doesn't work. And the only thing I figured out to really fix it is every so often I have to start the task manager. And for whatever reason, that fixes it. And I have no idea why it does that. So that'll be fun. We're gonna have to do that periodically during the stream today. All right, let's make another tab so that we can run our code. If we need to make that a little bigger. We probably don't need, I'm going to put this off to the side. I don't actually probably need that. Oh, there you go. See, now it's doing it again. I have no idea what this is about. I've tried different mouses. I cannot figure out why it does it to me. Let's put this over here. And then back here. There we go. We'll start up NeoVim. Uh-oh. Why is this angry? Oh, this happens occasionally with my GitHub themes. So what I have to do is I have to go to lazy. I have to uninstall this guy and then reinstall it. And quit out of here. I'm having all the technical difficulties today. Oh, you're verified. Ah, that's why. Well, I want to be verified. How do you get verified? Suas, yeah, I definitely don't subscribe. Oh, well, that's a good point. Yeah, that if the check mark was about subscribers, then a lot more people would probably have that check mark, wouldn't they? See for your. Okay, let me go to your channel. Go to channel. You teach computer science? That's awesome. Wow, 337,000 subs. See for yourself. That's awesome, dude. Congratulations, man. That's incredible. Oh, it looks like you teach a lot of Java. I like it. I don't know anything about Java. Gills Wilhelmsen. Hello, Steven. Could I be unbanned from the Discord server and YouTube chat? I apologize for being rude to other people in the Discord server. Oh, are you Network Bib? Yeah. Hello, Network Bib. Butterscotch. Did you get your telescope issue resolved? I didn't even think to check on that. That's actually a good call out. It doesn't appear that I did. Let me try a different repo really quick. I wonder if it has something to do with the virtual environment. I honestly don't know. Let's go to a different repo really quick. See if it works there. No. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I can't even. Well, there's my files. So finding files works. So that's good. So what about FG? Yeah, and grep works here. So maybe it is a. Do we think it is a? Well, let's try it with the virtual environment off. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not working in this particular repo. But it appears we're going to have to live with it because I'm not prepared to go down a deep, dark rabbit hole. Oh, I need to... I mean, it is really bothersome that I can't do that, but I'm not going to get held up. See for yourself. Hi to deserialize JSON in Java. See for yourself might not be here anymore, but he definitely has a ton of Java content. If you guys go to his channel, there's a ton of Java content on there. Alright, I need to open my book. See, this is my mouse. It's acting up again. I have no idea why it does it. At some point, I'm gonna probably curse during this stream because of my mouse getting stuck like that. It's almost like the computer thinks that I'm holding down the button on my mouse. That's what it almost feels like. It's like I can't. That's the experience. All right. I think we're at the time now. We're gonna start training our LLM. Huh? Oh no, we need to calculate. We need to calculate the loss for our loaders. That's what we need to do next. Let's see. Abdullah, I think that's how you say your name. Good to see you. Steven, where's your coffee? This is my coffee today. It's a latte flavored. Oops. It's a latte flavored protein shake. That's what I'm classifying as my coffee. Hello, Keyshawn. How are you? Suhas, there are particular viruses in the internet which will monitor for Task Manager to show up in the task, and it will close. Maybe the mouse pointer is frozen by the task. It happened to me once. Oh no, are you serious? That's a thing? Tell me that's not a thing. Suhas, are you just pulling my leg, or is that an actual thing? Keyshawn, have you ever creatives? Hi, Steven. What's good? Hello, creatives. How are you? Good to see you again. Have you ever worked on MCP? I have actually. We actually built an MCP on stream, Keyshawn. I can show it to you. If you go to my repositories, my GitHub, and you search for Onyx MCP server, I actually built an MCP server. I have never built a client, so I don't know anything about building MCP clients, but I did build an MCP server. It's pretty simplistic. It basically is just a wrapper around an existing API, but it was a lot of fun. And I used the TypeScript SDK to build it. Yeah, I used the TypeScript SDK. And it was a lot of fun. It's actually fairly straightforward to build one of these. Suhas, it's a thing, but it might just be just a bug. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do a little research then, because it is very frustrating. And it only recently started happening. Gills, could I rejoin the Discord server, please? I don't know, Network Bib. I'm just I removed you from the Discord server because I just didn't care for the way you interact with people. Arkin, I'm sipping some big jar of boiled coffee. Cheers. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. Nothing wrong with some coffee. I've had multiple coffees today. So I'm well caffeinated. And I'll probably have more coffee later. I just decided while I was doing this, I would drink a protein shake. All right, I'm gonna take the book off screen so I can type the code like I did yesterday, because it's probably not interesting for you guys for me to read to you guys. Jills, I'll be polite. Okay, man. Yeah. All right, we'll let you back in. We'll give you another shot. I think this is the third. I think this is the third time. So, I give you another shot, man. Third strike, you're out. How about that? Oh, it looks like my Discord bot's offline, actually. What happened? Yeah, my Discord bot crashed. Gotta fix that. Portainer. Let's look at the logs. Yeah, it looks like it couldn't connect. Looks like my Discord bot couldn't connect to Discord's gateway. I need to implement some sort of retry, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like it received a, it says unable to connect to the remote server, unable to connect to the remote server, resource temporarily unavailable. Well, I'm just going to restart the container, but we should probably implement something to account for that. Let's file an issue really quick. I know this is not at all what I say I'm doing on my stream right now, but let's, so I don't forget, let's file an issue. This correction second time because I got timed out one time. Oh, yeah, I guess that, yeah. Gunheis, is that Vim in PowerShell? It's actually NeoVim in PowerShell. So I'm actually running NeoVim in PowerShell on a Windows machine. CBDA code. Oh, LLMs and MCP. I love to see it. You do coding streams? Yeah, I typically try to stream like once a day when I'm sitting down to do something. But it varies. Like I do web development stuff. I'm trying to learn more about LLMs. Less about LLMs from the perspective of like how do you interact with a provider API, because that's something I'm very comfortable with, like working with Anthropic or ChatGPT or Gemini's API. What I'm trying to learn here is I'm trying to learn more about kind of the underlying architecture, how the models are put together, and just kind of build a good mental model of like how this all, how you put some words into these models and you get some words out. How does that all work beyond just kind of like a cursory, you know, I guess civilian understanding. It's getting dark in here. CBA coach, sleep timer after 3 failed attempts. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm going to have to do something, because right now, if it attempts to resume or reconnect and it can't when it resumes or reconnects, then it just stops trying to do anything. So I need to, Steve's bot, I need to implement something. And what you suggested probably makes the most sense. Let's see. Implement more resilient connection. Well, connection, it's, I don't know, connection's not really the right word, but it's sort of that. It's there are times when the bot attempts to resume or reconnect to the gateway and Discord responds with some transient network error. Currently, when this happens, the bot stops. The bot does not make any further attempts to reconnect. I should handle this better. What did someone said it? What did you say? CBA code. Perhaps we attempt to retry with some exponential back off and then wait some period of time and then attempt the retry. so we will retry until we fail 3 times. Then we will wait even longer, and then we will reattempt the retry again. Just an initial thought. Oh, see? The mouse is doing it again. Just an initial thought. Great. Okay. All right. Sorry, that was a little detour there. I missed a lot of messages. I'm sorry here. Let me catch up a little bit. Gilheim, could you also unblock my chats on live and videos on YouTube? Yeah, I can do that, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Never, babe. I'll do that later. When I remember. Josh, you can't delete the executable or close the task. Oh, I think you're talking about my mouse problem, aren't you? Sorry, I'm at the point of day where like the light is continually changing in this window above me. So if I get bright and then darker, bright and then darker, that's why. The sun is working against me. Gunhas, do you use PoshGit to handle better info within Git repositories? I do use PoshGit. It's wonderful. My favorite part about PoshGit is that I get branch completion. So if I can't remember what I exactly named a branch, I don't have to worry about it. Jack Cheeseburger, you ever get into a car accident? I did the other day. Should I get a lawyer? It seemed pretty serious. I have been in 2 car accidents, but I've never had to involve a lawyer. It's just always been insurance companies. You can use the error code to put sleep mode for 3 minutes and retry. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Suhas, instead of that, you can prompt an LLM to do that. Oh, you mean have Copilot implement the solution? My Discord bot problem? Yeah, that'd be fun. See if the Copilot agent can do a complete implementation and submit a PR. That'd be fun. It's a good idea. Arkin, I always suffice to be blunt when people get on my nerves, but I never curse. Yeah, I guess Arkin, when it comes to the Discord, I don't have any tolerance for people treating other people poorly at the moment. Says Thomas, what's the plan? The plan is to write some Python code to hopefully help me figure out how to train this dumb model that I currently have at the moment. "43 people, nice." Oh yeah, we've got actually some the chat's going, so I'm trying to keep up. Still don't understand why YouTube added XP to live chat. Yeah, I have no idea either. Keyshawn, I switched to WSL Ubuntu for my development. It is good and fast. Well, that's awesome, Keyshawn. Yeah, I mean, based on what DHH said, it's apparently time for the years of Linux the desktop, or Linux on desktop. Very nice. Many people underestimate that kind of stuff where it is actually handy. Agreed, man. Agreed. Yeah. Taking some time to set up your tools, or at least being like mindful of where you might be able to improve your existing workflow is definitely useful. Keyshawn, use Cursor. It's better. I have never used Cursor. I pay for Copilot and I pay for Gemini. So I'll probably just use, since my repo's on GitHub, I think it makes more sense to just have the Copilot, the background agent. Have you seen that? Copilot now has a background agent that you can delegate stuff to it on GitHub, and it will actually try to work on things for you. I haven't actually used it, but I've seen demos. So maybe we'll try that. Creative Steven, how many pages does the book have? Oh, it's got the PDF that I'm looking at has 370. I don't know if you can see that. It's got 370 pages. Odin, do it in C? No, I don't know C, so I can't even attempt to do it in C. NetSuzy, that's Python. Yes, this book is all the code snippets and everything is in Python, so I'm just following right along. Python's not really my it's not really like my go-to language, but I'll get comfortable with it if I need to learn some stuff. Gaming Con Matt, hey, what are you working on? We are working on trying to figure out how to make my little GPT model that I've been working on not dumb. That's what we're going to try to do. Kogel, the code is going to help you know how to, or are you building the LLM? So this book, the book is called Build a Large Language Model. And so the approach that the book takes is the book basically walks you through what the architecture of something like GPT, the architecture of a GPT, what that looks like in code. And once you then get that architecture written in code, then it walks you through how you go about, which is the part I'm at right now, how you go about actually training the model so that instead of it outputting gibberish, it actually outputs like coherent text. So then after you do that, then it walks you through how to use, instead of having to train the model yourself, it walks you through how to take weights, open source weights. In this case, I think they're going to have me use the GPT-2 weights. Basically, how to put that in your model and just reuse somebody else's weights, right? So you don't have to do the training yourself. Then the book also at the very end, I think, is going to take us on a tour of how to do fine tuning. So this is all just kind of like a Steven goes on an adventure to try to learn more about LLMs. I'm definitely not an expert. Most of the coding I do is web development related or has to do with, most of it's web development related. But I've been doing a lot with LLMs from a provider standpoint, and I just want to understand a little bit more. There's a guy named Scott Hanselman. If you guys aren't familiar with him, you should definitely go check out his content. But he always talks about how you should always try to go one layer below your current understanding, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. To be frank, personally, I like to use Python on little games, even though it ain't made for that. Yeah, man, I feel like you should use whatever languages to build whatever things you want to do. You know, if it's not for your job, like, why not use the tools you want to use? Coco, thanks. Let's get into it then. Yeah, let's for sure get into it. I haven't written a line of code. It's been 30 minutes. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to use this. Basically, we need to calculate the loss. We need to calculate the loss across more than just a singular input. That's basically what we need to do. So we need to write a function to do that. So we're going to just write the function that the book is telling us to write. So we're going to say def calc loss batch. And our arguments are going to be input batch, target batch, our actual model, and then it also has an optional parameter here of a device. Apparently, we're going to use that at some point. It says this is so that we can transfer to a given device, allowing us to transfer the data to a GPU. Well, I don't have a GPU, so I won't be able to use that, but input batch dot to device target batch equals target batch dot to device. We're gonna get our logits from the model. Then we're gonna calculate our loss using a cross entropy calculation that comes from PyTorch, which is basically like an average of the probabilities, and then you get the negative of that average. Logits.flatten. And then we'll flatten the target batch. And finally, we'll return our loss here. Why is this complaining? Oh, because I didn't spell it right. Okay, cool. So now we have that function. All right. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to calculate the loss of a loader. So we'll say loss loader, data loader, model, device, and the num of batches, which will be optional. And where are we going next here? CBA code. Can you suggest good books for building RAG agents? So I haven't read any books that were specifically oriented towards that. I think there is a book out there. Let's see. I think it's a Manning book too. Build RAG. Yeah, this one. Simple Guide to Retrieval Augmented Generation. I've not read it and not used it, but obviously there are definitely resources out there for you. I've built RAG agents before, but I just did it through a lot of internet sleuthing, right? A lot of Google foo skills. So I definitely think you'd be able to do it. I actually think the hardest part about RAG systems is keeping the data in sync, right? So most of the time when you're dealing with RAG, you have some corpus of knowledge, right? Whether that be records in an existing database or actual documentation, markdown files, PDFs, files of whatever type, and they're usually stored in some location, right? But you need to then vectorize those those documents or those rows or those records and put them in a vector database, right? And so then you have this, in my opinion, that's the more difficult problem of, well, when are you going to re-embed things, right? On every time something changes, are you going to re-embed things on like a batch job? Are you going to do it behind the scenes? Is it going to happen in real time? To me, that problem is actually more difficult than putting together the RAG agent, honestly. Cool. Please, can you explain why we are calculating the loss and what is its significance? What does the loss calculation do for LLM? So basically it does nothing for our LLM. We're calculating the loss, and the loss is what we're going to use to be a measure between what we thought the input should have been, or what we thought the output should have been, and what we actually got. So that's what we're calculating. The loss is a measure, is measuring, basically a quality measure of, did we get what we expected? And so we're going to use the loss function as a way to basically help the model optimize against that value, is from what I understand at the moment. That's why we have to calculate it, is so that we can use it to help us train our model. And obviously, Kogol, if you know more about this than I do, please enlighten me, because I'm learning. I know only what I've read, and obviously the amount of comprehension I have from what I read is not 100%. So what happened to the music? Why is it so low? There we go. That's better. Hold on. Network Bib, are you still here? Network Bib, you're still here. Did you literally join the Discord and then start arguing about spamming in the meme channel? you just, I mean, you just yeah. Oh my goodness. Why are teenagers like this? A CBA code. Me and my team are building an enterprise chatbot for a global enterprise based on their Confluence PDFs videos. Nearly there. Yeah, so that sounds like an awesome project. But see, to me, that the hardest problem in that project is keeping though. I mean, I'm assuming, does your RAG agent use vector search? So are you taking the Confluence data, the PDFs, the videos, are you vectorizing those and storing them as embeddings? Because to me, that's where it becomes difficult, because then it's like, well, what if this given PDF is updated, or what if this given Confluence item is updated, right? How do you monitor for all those changes and keep the data in sync? Kogol, I don't know more. Feel free to explain as you understand. That's why we are here. Yeah, Kogol, then yeah, that's at the moment right now, what I understand is my loss function is how I'm measuring the delta, and so we'll use the loss that we calculate as a way to help the model understand how it needs to improve itself to get better outputs. CBA Bedrock, yes sir, we ingest that data and store as MBS. Oh nice, very cool. So are you using what is AWS's service in Bedrock? It's what do they call that? Knowledge? I think they call them knowledge bases. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's knowledge bases. Is that what you guys are using? Open vector store for the data, AWS Luminary. Wow, yeah. So you're deep down this rabbit hole. At work, we did a little demo with AWS. They did a demo for us of how you can use knowledge bases and what's their vector store? I forget the name of their. Maybe it's just Bedrock. But yeah, it seems like they have a lot of sweet tools to help you do that work to make it a little easier. Cameron K, what are you coding? Right now, we are implementing a function that's going to help us calculate the loss for some data. And we're going to use these loss calculations to help us make our model not dumb. Butterscotch, he's childish. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna kick him again. I'm sorry, GW. I just don't think. I don't think you're the guy that we need running around in our community. Which I don't know. How do I do that? Oh yeah, Cameron, what are you coding? Yeah, I think I answered that question already. Okay, so back to our function here. Let's see. Num of batch. Yep, that's correct. Copilot. Then we have a loop. Yep. And then we're gonna say if I is less than num of batches, we're gonna continue to calculate our loss for that batch. And then we're gonna just accumulate the loss. And then once we reach our number of batches, we'll just break. And then finally, we will return an average loss since we're calculating in batches. I'm not going to do what that says. This is the function that's written in the book, and I'm just going to stick with it. Okay. The book basically says, let's now see this calc loss loader function in action. We're going to apply it to the training and validation set loaders. So we will say device equals torch dot device CUDA. Well, I don't have CUDA, so it's always going to be the CPU. Then we'll say model to device. Also, if you're watching and you're like, how does he know what to type? I'm typing exactly what the snippets are. And so there's no expertise here. There's only learning. Big Nova, what's your favorite thing you've ever did involving coding? My favorite thing. My favorite thing. Okay, well, I'm gonna give you two things. So, one of the things I'm most proud of, and this is gonna sound really funny because it's really simple, but it was very early days when I was learning to code, and my kid was in kindergarten. My oldest kid had just started school. He was in kindergarten, and he was learning. He was doing these things in class called number bonds. Was this kindergarten or was this first grade? Yeah, I don't know. The timeline's blurry nowadays. But basically, he was doing this thing where they were practicing addition and subtraction. And he had these worksheets that were called number bonds, and would practice with these worksheets. And so I was like, man, I'm learning to code. I could create a game out of that, you know? And so this was a project that like was totally of my own mind, of my own thought, my own ideas. We came up with all the features. My son thought up all like the different functionality and stuff, and we coded this up. And again, like it's very simple, right? You enter the solution, you submit the answer. If it's right, you get a ding ding. But I've always been super proud of this because it was one of the first projects where like I wasn't following a tutorial, I wasn't following a roadmap. I just had an idea and I implemented it, right? So this is one of the things that I guess I don't know if it's a favorite, but it's one of the things I'm more proud of because it was really the first time I really felt like I was picking up a lot of the skills that I was trying to acquire from a web dev perspective. The other thing I worked on that's more recent is a tool I named. It's a console application. I called it BGR. And so the story behind this, I wrote a blog post about this on my blog, but the story behind this app was on my YouTube channel, I have thumbnails for my videos, and a lot of the times the thumbnails are like a cutout of me over the top of another picture. And I was using Canva to do that. However, Canva costs money to use their background removal tool. And I was like, you know what? I can't justify paying money purely for one single feature in this Canva app. And so I was like, maybe I can build a tool to do this, or at least do it like half as well. Like if I could build something that was like half as good and was free, I'd be happy. So I built this console app that uses some machine learning models that are loaded into the app that run inference over an image. It produces a mask, and then I did some image manipulation in my code to basically mask out what is the background and keep what is the foreground. And this is the result. You can put an image in like this, and you get an output image like that. This was something I built probably, I guess 5 months ago now at this point. But this is one of the things that I've worked on most recently that I had a lot of fun doing. So I guess that's two. It's a long answer to your question, Big Nova, but those are the two things that come to mind at the moment. And also this, Big Nova, this is indeed Python. The code that we're writing right now is Python. Jesus, put a cat as a Easter egg in the code. Well, I'm not a big cat guy, so I'm probably not going to do that. Osvaldo. Hola. Hi. Hello, Osvaldo. Are you back to practicing English by by listening to English speakers. I know that's what you said you were doing the other day. Also, for those of you guys who like have come back to more than one stream, it's very kind of you. I just want to say that. Like, I can very clearly remember like 6 months ago, I guess 5 months ago. Well, no, 7 months ago at this point. Like when I was streaming in January, and I was literally just making content. I was literally just streaming to myself. You know, sitting in a room, looking at a camera, talking to myself. And so now it's kind of nice to have people who are coming back. Not necessarily, I don't expect you guys to come back for like every stream. I understand we all have lives, but it's nice to see familiar faces, people like Butterscotch and Suhas and all you guys. So very nice of you. Butterscotch. Second thing is creating this channel and building this awesome community. Yeah, the channel's been a lot of fun. And it's always been fun. Like I've been making YouTube videos now for 10 plus years. Making videos and making content is just fun. Butterscotch, that's cool. You could make a web version of it and monetize it. Yeah, I mean I could. 100% could. Like I actually had somebody comment on like extracting some of that logic into a library for people to use, and I just haven't done it. But yeah, it's been a really handy tool. I use it every day. It's actually, I shouldn't say every day, but I use it quite a bit. It's actually in my path here. So it's always fun to build tools that solve your own problem, and if they help other people, that's great, you know. But if you scratch your own itch, you'll always be satisfied. Big Nova, I subscribe. Just a chill place for me to watch other people code while I'm coding myself. This is lit. Yeah, exactly, Big Nova. And I hope that's kind of what I kind of want my streams. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for with my stream is imagine like we're all hanging out kind of at a coffee shop with some chill music, and we're all just kind of, you know, working on our stuff. Maybe we're having a chat in between tasks. But yeah, so appreciate you subbing, man. And that is exactly the vibe we are going for here. Wars. Hey, hi. Hello, Wars. And sorry if I'm mispronouncing your first name. QJ said hi. Hello, QJ. Voss. Hey, man, what are you programming? We are currently working on implementing some code that's going to help us evaluate and train a very small GPT. And just for clarity, this is not code that like was born of my own mind. I'm following a book. I'm going through a book, so a lot of this code that you see on the screen is just code that I'm copying from the book and stepping through it so I can kind of understand the process that goes into building a large language model. Suhas, I'm going to implement a heap in Python. Nice, very cool. Isn't heap just a tree under the layer? Yeah, I think, yeah, you guys are smarter than me. Talking about data structures and algorithms. All right, let's run these and see what the losses are. Yeah. Or Python. Oh. have an issue. No module name GPT data 1. Crap. This is a import problem. Oh no, not there. There we go. Okay, so just so that you guys can see, this is currently the most important kind of current state of the union, right? So this is currently some context that I'm giving to my model, right? So this is like the first tokens that are going in. This is the input to the word calculator. And currently, this is the output that I'm getting, right? So you can see it's not very good. It's gibberish. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to fix that by actually training and evaluating the model now. So we can see we have our loss calculations down here. And that's what we've been working on trying to calculate. And now I think we can actually start using those loss values to actually improve the output. Yeah, here we go. So you can kind of see. Let's see, next we will focus on pre-training the LLM. After model training, we will implement alternative text generation strategies and save and load pre-trained model weights. So here's the loop, I guess. Here's the epochs. This is the epoch. So iterate over batches in each training epoch. Reset loss gradients from previous batch iteration. We'll calculate the loss on the current batch. Backward pass to calculate our loss gradients. Update the model weights using our loss gradients. Print training and validation set losses. And then generate sample text for visual inspection. That's going to be our loop. All right. So we have to code it up. Is what we're going to do next. K-Man TV. Hello, K-Man TV. Daniel, hey man, the book. The book is called Build a Large Language Model, and the link should be in the description of this video. You can also type "What bro doing?" exclamation point "What bro doing?" and it'll print the link for you. Suhas, I will do good in my interview. Yeah, you'll kill it, man. You'll do great, man. The key with interviews, and this is regardless of the job, the key with interviews is not to go in and try to be something you're not. The key with an interview is to walk in and try to impress them with the knowledge and the skills that you have, and hopefully the knowledge and the skills that you have are what they're looking for. And hopefully you've done a little bit of homework and you've done a little bit of research to put yourself in the greatest possible likelihood that is the case, right? But I think a lot of anxiety around interviews is because people are so concerned with they're less concerned about being themselves and they're more concerned with trying to be what the interviewers want, right? And I understand, especially when you're desperate for a job or really need a job, right? I totally understand the pressure there. But I think a lot of the anxiety around interviews can be lessened if you just focus on being yourself, demonstrating your skills, demonstrating your knowledge. If you focus on that, right, then you're in your wheelhouse, right? And so you can be confident and speak to what you know. Vast. Is this Python? Python? It is Python. That whole book is in Python. Boss, it is 0-0 where I'm right now. Oh, that's midnight, I think, is what you mean, right? It's midnight. I'm trying to learn how to code with Python. Should I do an all-nighter? I probably wouldn't do an all-nighter, but definitely continue to learn how to write Python, man, for sure. Sorry, I'm a little behind on the chat here. JP, don't do an all-nighter. It's way better just to get enough sleep and learn something when you're fresh. Yeah, agreed. Sleep's important for learning. Like I don't really think that you can, like people who only learn on the weekends, that's not going to work. I just don't believe that. Like I would think 1 hour of learning for 8 days interspersed with periods of sleep is probably a far better learning strategy and learning approach than to try to do 8 hours of learning in a single day. I just think the level of comprehension and the level of understanding you take away is going to be so much greater in the former than the latter, in my opinion. Voss, any advice for how to learn Python as effective as possible? I see Suhas recommended CS50P. I think that's a great recommendation. I've actually done the CS50P course. The other course that I've done that I thought was really helpful is um, Python for Everybody by Dr. Chuck. That's a really helpful course. Um, I think he's taught Python to a lot of people. Python for Everybody. Yeah, this one. I think this is a great course. But yeah, that'd be my advice. Find a good structured curriculum, follow that, but then as soon as possible, start trying to apply what you know to solve your own problems. Right? Can you come up with some little scripts or some simple solutions to kind of existing problems you have in your life? I feel like that's when you really take ownership of your coding skills, is when you start solving problems without somebody explicitly telling you how to go about solving it. Sad. What are you trying to build? We are currently trying to make our GPT model not dumb. That's what we're currently trying to build. We're trying to understand the process that's involved in training and evaluating a model, an LLM, a very small one, to be to be clear, a very small one. Funny meme. Do you have a job or a company? I do have a job. I do not have a company. Um, you're welcome to creep on my LinkedIn if you want to do some creeping on my professional journey over the last like 10 years. I guess I've been out of high school for I'm 32. What is that? 20 I can do math. 14 years? Yeah, I've been out of high school for 14 years, been out of college for 10. Yeah, 10 years. So, if you want to go see, but right now I work a job. My title is senior quality and reliability engineer, which is basically most of my responsibility is as a uh, software development engineer and test. If you've ever heard of SDETs, that's kind of a lot of what my role is at the moment. Suhas, ever heard of spaced repetition? I don't know if I've ever heard of that, but that kind of sounds like it kind of sounds like with what I said, which is I think an hour a day instead of 8 hours in one day is probably a better approach to learning. Sad. What is the stream for? So the stream is really just me sharing the things I'm working on or the things I'm learning and interacting with other people who are interested in kind of similar stuff. So it's code, it's coffee, it's chat. That's what it is, man. JP, hey Steven, could I bounce a problem off of you? Yeah, sure, man. And I'm sure there's other people in the chat that would be happy to help you with the problem as well. Sad. So can you show the imports? Yeah. The imports up here at the top. We're using tick token for tokenization. We're using PyTorch, obviously, because it's either PyTorch or what's the other one? Someone mentioned it the other day in chat. TensorFlow, right? It's either PyTorch or TensorFlow. You're probably going to use one or the other. Gaming combat. Yo, what if I make a ray tracer in C++? Wait, can I make a ray tracer in C#? Has anyone done that? I'm sure you can make a ray tracer in C#. If you can make a ray tracer in C++, you can probably make one in C#. And that's one of the great things about C# is you can write really high-level application-level code, but then there's people who can write really low-level code in it too, right? There's a whole database that's written in C# called RavenDB. So you could probably most definitely do that. I've never written a ray tracer, wouldn't know how to do it, but I'm confident C# could do it. JP, I built one in basic JavaScript for fun, and if that works at all, you built a ray tracer in JavaScript? Ah, man. JP sounds like he's got some serious engineering chops. Suhas, did you get a promotion? Not recently. So I was originally a support analyst, then I kind of made a lateral move at the same job to a quality analyst, and then like 2 years ago, they actually gave me kind of like an engineer title. Night boss, good luck with all the Python learning, man. Everybody was ahead of me. TensorFlow, yeah. I couldn't remember what it was. JP, hey, all right. The problem is my project. I've been developing a musical AI for about 5 months now. It generates MIDI-like note events. Okay, sounds cool. Arkin, space repetition is how I am learning 15 programming languages. I circle over them one day for each and end up learning none. So we're all doing some amount of space repetition then, aren't we? Kogel, one problem people face a lot when looking for a job is DEMA? What is that, Kogel? I don't know what that is. DEMA? I don't know what that is supposed to be. JP, the problem is finding a good architecture that can both generate 1 point in time and 2 note values. Monero, what's an array tracer? Or I think it's a ray tracer. I'm pretty sure that's how video games do like lighting, right? Let's see. Let's look it up. I could be wrong. Ray tracer. What is a ray tracer? This, according to Google's AI overview, a ray tracer is a computer graphics technique used to create realistic images by simulating the behavior of light. That's what a ray tracer is. So the next time you play your favorite video game, thank people like JP who know how to build ray tracers. JP, so a time series model that can classify between 128 notes, and I can either manage a good time series model and a good classifier sequence model, but not a model that converged on both. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'll be able to help you, JP. You sound like you're like 10 miles ahead of me on that journey, and it would probably take much longer to get me up to speed to be able to have a conversation with you than I'd actually be able to help you. Kogel, the problem with landing a job demanding a lot of experience in years while looking for an entry-level job. Yeah, that's definitely a problem, man. So you're basically saying, how do you get into a job? Or it's a chicken or the egg problem, right? It's like a job that requires you to have experience, but how do you get experience without having a job? Yeah, that's a tough problem, and it's kind of a dumb problem. Um, you would think people, you'd think companies which are made up of people would be smart enough to see the idiocy in that, right? Um, yeah, that's a shitty one. Baharat, I made an age recognizer. Very cool. That sounds like a very fun project. Age recognizer. I'm curious. The thing I guess I'm curious about that is, uh, what is the age recognizer based on, or what data does your age recognizer use? JP, all right, sorry then. No, man, it's a. I just don't want to. I don't want to waste your time. You're not wasting my time. It sounds like a very difficult problem, and you sound like you're very far down the line in terms of your knowledge and understanding of the problem. Um, and I would just hate to. I would hate to waste a bunch of your time of me asking very dumb beginner questions and never ever actually helping you. um, Suhas, Google is bad. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. You mean Google the company, or like Google the technology, like the search engine? Because Google has served me well over the course of my life. What if I make a ray tracer in Scratch? That would be pretty crazy. But I would never doubt. I mean, if people can build Doom in TypeScript types, then I'm never gonna say people can't build something in something. Kogel, how do you overcome this when you have the experience but haven't gotten the job? Well, Kogel, I always approach these questions as if I was talking to older versions of my sons. So I'm a 32-year-old dad of two, so these are things that I do think about that I'll eventually have to talk my own kids through. So I guess my answer would be, the way you overcome it is through sheer persistence and enthusiasm. Largely, getting a job is a numbers game. It is largely a willingness to continue to throw yourself at job openings until somebody gives you an opportunity. There's no other solution. Obviously, that assumes that you've done the prerequisite work, right? You've achieved the necessary skills, you've achieved the necessary credentialing, but that you just have to have a relentless willingness to continue to apply and to interview and to do it over and over and over again until someone gives you a shot. There are definitely things you can do to help improve your odds. Like I said, right? Get the skills, get the credentials, have a network, develop relationships, develop friendships. But at the end of the day, you got to keep knocking on doors. Every job I've ever had, and every job I've ever gotten, that's the way I've gotten it. Has been through applying and applying and applying and applying and applying until someone is willing to give you a shot. And I've always done things to help increase my odds of getting jobs through those things, right? Having a skill set, having a network. But there's really no other answer. Because if you just sit on the sidelines and feel discouraged and frustrated about your inability to get the job, you're just missing out on opportunities to get a job. So there's only one path forward. Individual. There are recruiting hackathons too in Silicon Valley or online. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things you can do, right, to give yourself better odds. But you gotta be willing to put yourself out there. Unfortunately. JP, wait a second. You might know something about Transformers. So imagine a note pitch being a token between 0 and 128 plus end of file plus pad. Now instead of the position encoder doing discrete integer positions, instead it takes time positions. That's basically one of the ideas I'm working on. So you're basically thinking about building a model that does like note prediction. That's kind of cool. So awesome, Stephen. My way of doing it is so great. What you do, they will take to give you the opportunity. JP, I'm actually struggling using attention because attention is limited to about 1024 sequence length for me because it gets too computationally heavy. Any suggestions? No. I have no suggestions, man. I wish I was able to help you more, but I'm a beginner noob as it stands when it comes to anything to do with machine learning. So I would defer. I would defer to someone else with better abilities and more knowledge. JP, exactly. It's the next note predictor using an auto regressor architecture. Yeah, so that's I barely know what auto regressor architecture is. Maybe not even know. So I wish I could help you, JP, but I don't, man. I'll be the first to admit when I'm beyond my depth. All right. Let's actually. How long have I been live for? Yeah, I'm gonna try to implement the next little bit of this, and then call it a day. All right, we're gonna implement the training flow here. So we need a new function called def train model. JP, sorry. Oh no, man, don't apologize. I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm I do not have the requisite ability to assist you, and I wish I did. Maybe one of these days, maybe come back and come back in like a year's time. Maybe I'll have more to say. Jesus. Copilot is okay. Copilot, you're going away. You're really frustrating me. Okay. We're gonna do model. And again, I'm not coming up with this implementation myself. So we have our model, we have our train loader. So this is our training data. We have our validation data. Or actually, let me use the same names that the book is using. Optimizer. We have a device. We have a number of epochs. We have an evaluation frequency parameter. An evaluation iterator. We have a starting context. And we have a tokenizer. Oh, I missed a... JP, I'll stay. Maybe I can help along the way. Yeah, man, I would love for you to... I'm always up for people teaching me stuff. Suhas, what I'm saying is being so great that the companies will have no choice except to hire you. Yeah, so that whole idea of like be so good they can't ignore you. I love that idea, man. I do think though that it's easy to get caught in a mindset of that mindset though. You have to be careful, right? Because that mindset can very quickly slip into build it and they will come, right? Which is just, that's not the way the world works, unfortunately, right? Like if you're the best programmer or developer in the world and all you do is build things in your basement and put them on your GitHub repo, it's unlikely you're ever going to get discovered, right? So you have to marry some amount of self promotion with that ability, right? So totally agree with you. But then you've also got to follow up, like, be so good they can't ignore you with actually making sure people know about you. Because I think a lot of your success professionally is largely predicated on who knows you and then what they know about you, right? And so it's your job to make sure that as many people know about you what you want them to know about you, right? So that is the control that you have in the whole system. Um, so yeah, you got to take ownership of that a little bit. Annoyed. Do you know how to code for Lua? I do not. I've written a little bit of Lua in order to configure NeoVim. But if you were to sit me down and were like, hey, write a script in Lua that does XYZ, I'd have to do a whole heck of a lot of Googling to figure it out. JP, what's the Discord server about? The Discord server is purely just for the chat here. Like, I don't stream all the time every day for multiple hours. So the Discord server is really just a way for people who hang out here and chat to have a way to also interact when I'm not streaming, I'm not live. So that's what it's about. There's different channels in there. We have a channel in there for fitness, for coding, for gaming, for coffee, for pets. I try to always post to the Discord whenever I'm going live. That's what it's for. Individual. I agree. At a certain point, it's just sales. You need skills and network, but then it's selling yourself. Yeah, that is 100% what getting a job is. Getting a job is sales, right? You are the product, and you are the salesman, and your job is to make sure people know how good you are at your particular thing, how good of a product you are, and how good of a value you will be to them, and that's the that's the long and short of it. I mean, especially in technical fields where, you know, think of it like this. Like, think of something that you don't like. Like, for me, cars are a good example. I don't know a ton about cars. Like, I've changed the brakes and changed my own oil, but like beyond that, it's pretty limited. So my ability to evaluate whether or not somebody is a good mechanic is pretty limited. And in most cases, that's the case for most people who are trying to evaluate an engineer or a developer. And so it's largely up to you to communicate why you're good at what you do and what that translates to in terms of the business. See you, Butterscotch. Have a good night, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Big Nova, can you try out a project I just made? I thought it came out pretty cool. So Big Nova, if you want me to take a look at something, the way I ask people to do that is just join the Discord and then post a link. There's a projects channel in the Discord. You can post a link there and I can take a look. Google, I think Suhas is correct, but as you are adding to your knowledge base, keep applying. But you said you need people to know you. How do you get yourself known? You apply, right? You submit resumes. You walk into businesses and actually introduce yourself if it's possible, right? I know that sounds very old school, but like, if I needed a job tomorrow, for sure I'm going to wake up early and put in applications, and I'm going to stay up late and put in applications. But if I needed a job now, I'd get in my car, I would start parking in front of businesses and walk in, and whoever's at the desk, introduce myself, say that I'm looking for a job. This is the kind of work that I've done in the past. Are they looking to hire? And I would just repeat that, right? Like, so how do you get yourself known? You go meet people and you try to put your name in front of people. Go to meetups. join Discords, get engaged. Like, it requires you to actively seek out connections, which is hard. Like, I get it, it's hard. This was a skill that I developed as a personal trainer because I had to sell my services. So like I had to introduce myself to people and ask them if they were interested in personal training, and like it's just talking to other people. It's a lot of like one-on-one, hand-to-hand, right? That's how it works. It's like door-to-door sales. Raul, are you working on machine learning? Yeah, we're working on trying to train a very small GPT, and the whole point of doing this is so that I can just basically have a better mental model of how these LLMs that are currently ruling the world, how they work and how people go about putting them together. Svarseek, hello Svarseek. I think I'm saying your username correctly. If I'm butchering it, I apologize. Bravera, which programming language is this? This is Python. Yep. Raul, Python, and I think, yep, Torch. We're using PyTorch. Yep. Bravera. I'm actually beginner / intermediate to Python. Well, that's awesome, man. I would say I'm like, if you, on any given day, I'm probably like if you were to sit me down in front of a computer and say, implement this in Python, I'm probably a beginner for like a couple hundred lines of code, and then I suddenly remember Python. Because I've built projects in Python, but I don't use it every day. Like, very rarely do I use it every day. So it's kind of one of those use it or lose it things. But the main reason I'm using Python right now is because this book that I'm following is all in Python. Raul, can you recommend some good channel for AI? I really honestly can't. I really don't know very many good YouTube channels that are solely focused on AI. And I guess also I would ask, like, what do you mean by AI, right? Like, do you mean like you want to understand how to work with generative AI? Do you want to understand how to actually like build LLMs? You want to do like machine learning stuff? You know, that I think that term AI is it's so big, and there's so many things that are in it, right? That it probably requires like niching down exactly what you're trying to learn in that field. Bravera, I need someone to teach me something under Flask, under web. Well, I don't know Flask. I've never built much apps. That sounded so broken English. I have not built many apps with Python. I've written quite a bit of like scripts, or I've written one like package that was like it was like an API SDK, right? So like a wrapper around a REST API that makes it easier for people to interact with that API. So I'm definitely not the guy to teach a Flask, that's for sure. I'm definitely not the guy to teach anyone anything about Python. That's just not it's not my number one language. Um, if someone was to ask me to sit down and implement something today, I would probably do it in C# or I would do it in TypeScript. JP, good analogy. First 100 lines is a mess, and then I'm suddenly competent again. I feel like I need to try to rebound after not having used Python for a while. Yeah, I think that's normal with any language, right? Like if you can know 10 languages, but I mean, maybe there's guys out there that can do that, but I just feel like programming languages are something that you need to use often for them to stick around with you a lot. JP, also small notice on YouTube mobile, you can't see the bottom 10 lines of code because the chat blocks its view, just so you know. Oh, that's very helpful. Yeah, so I might need to explore maybe resizing that window down there to account for chat, or at least maybe always know to not code to the bottom of the terminal. Big Nova, I posted it in the project channel. Oh, awesome. Let me see. Web page farming frenzy game I created. Very cool. Yeah, I will definitely go check that out. I always check those things out off stream though, just because obviously I don't know you, you don't know me. This is the internet, so I'll look at it. I'll look at it off stream. All right. So let's calculate our loss for this batch. Calc loss batch input batch target batch model and then our device. Loss dot backward optimizer not step. Some of this stuff, there's so many things that I'm typing right now that I'm like, what's the optimizer? But I'm trying to avoid falling down a rabbit hole, you know, because there are so many rabbit holes here. Things that I just don't know that I could probably spend several hours learning more about. Let's see, token scene. Did I spell that wrong up here? Track. Oh, is that a typo in there? Oh no, that's my, I didn't declare all the variables. I need tokens, scene equals 0, and global step equals -1. Now we have a little bit of a if global step mod eval frequency equals 0. So this is an optional evaluation step. Okay. We'll implement that in a second. But let's jump down here and say generate and print sample. We haven't implemented this function. Tokenizer, device, and start context. And then finally, we're going to return train losses, val losses, track tokens, scene. Do I have the indentation right here? Yeah, I do. Okay. I need to implement that method. I need to implement multiple methods. I need to implement generate and print. So train loss and val loss are going to be deconstructed or returned, I guess, returned by a function called evaluate model, which I have not implemented. Then train losses dot append train loss val losses. Sorry, I'm going to lock in here for just 1 sec so I can try to get this done. Track token scene. And tokens scene. Print. I can see the chat window moving out of the corner of my eye. It's giving me anxiety. Hold on 1 sec. Val loss dot 3f. Okay. So that's our definition for our model. For training our model. But there's a couple functions that we haven't implemented for it. So we need to implement an evaluate model function and a generate and print sample. But I don't, let's see, to do, implement evaluate model, and then also to do implement generate and print sample. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do that today. Oh, also that's not how you write comments in Python. Okay, cool. Suhas, I think you should make a stream reviewing other people's projects. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. We could definitely do that. TG channel, hey, what are you making? We're trying to make a small little GPT. That's what we're trying to do. JP, why does the global step start out -1? Yeah, I actually don't know. But I guess I need to probably read the code and figure it out. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that we're modding by the eval frequency. But honestly don't know because I just copied the code from somebody else. Huh? He needs to go out. I'll take him out here in just a minute. That was aggressive. He never barked at me like that before. Suas, no productivity meter. Yeah, we need a productivity meter on my streams because most of the time they're not super productive. JP, I love and can relate to that. Using the double slash. Yeah, that's the problem when you switch between languages, right? You forget how comments are written in one or the other. The other thing I do in Python a lot is when I'm writing Python is I always want to type for variable declarations, I always want to type var. And then I also want to always do semis and curly brackets. Today I've actually been pretty good about not making those mistakes, but all right, my dog was barking at me. He needs to go outside, which my wife just took him outside, but obviously it means I've been on the computer for too long. So I'm going to call it for the day. And hopefully the next time we get on, we'll actually be able to run this this simple training model loop that we've coded up here. And maybe my next time I stream, maybe my model won't be dumb anymore. JP, would you say you have a main language? I've only now just discovered your channel stream. Oh yeah, my main language I would say is either TypeScript or C#. I always say my favorite language is C#, but if I could only write one language for the rest of my life, it would be TypeScript. Big Nova, do you do any software engineering? I guess yes, right? Like, are you meaning like, do I build like apps and like stuff like that? For sure. Yeah, mostly web dev related stuff. JP, I'll join the Discord and maybe you want to take a look at my musical project. Sure, for sure, man. Be happy to take a look at. I mean, I'm sure me and everyone else in the Discord would be happy to look at your guys' project. So that's what that channel is there for. So please join and share what you're working on. See you, Arkin. Have a nice day, man. All right, guys, I'm going to jump. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Friday. If it's already Saturday for you, hope you have a good rest of your Saturday. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. See y'all. Have a nice weekend. Bye. Bye.